Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Under Hood Show. My name is Josh Profit, and alongside me this morning, Kelly Hambelton, the Quick Lane Manager. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning. How's it going?
Man, couldn't be better. It's got a lot of moisture yesterday. Had a couple of days this week where, but we need it.
Hopefully, Cheney got a little bit of help there.
Got a little bit of water down there for sure. Driving in this morning, there was definitely a lot of full ditches and stuff like that for sure coming in. So thought somebody was trying to pull something funny. So hey, this is a call-in show. We talk about anything automotive. So whatever you got that you want to discuss, whether it's new vehicle products, tires, brakes, batteries, maintenance procedures on your vehicle, anything along those lines, give us a call, 316-462-3673. That's the number to jump on the air here with us and talk automotive for sure. So again, 316-462-3673 is the number to jump on the air and discuss anything going on in your vehicle. For each and every caller that calls into the show, we talk about we mail you out a prize package, but it consists of the works, which is an oil change and tire rotation. We use Motorcraft oil and filter products here at Hambelton Ford. While we're performing that, we're going to complete a multi-point inspection on that vehicle, checking over the brakes, tires, steering, suspension, all the safety-related components on that vehicle, just making sure that it's geared up and ready to go for that next 5,000 miles of driving. You'll also receive yourself $10 to Mel's Diner, so you can get yourself something to eat and drink while you're here with us at the Big Corner. Complete nitrogen for your tires, so you get all the great benefits that nitrogen has to offer. And then BG Products package, which consists of a can of MOA or motor oil additive for your engine oil, and then 44K for your fuel system. Again, just getting that vehicle geared up and ready to go for that next 5,000 miles of driving. So let's get the phones ringing and get some questions going. But otherwise, I was going to talk a little bit, a couple topics of discussion that I had for us today, Kelly. We got the opportunity to go speak with a couple of automotive classes, vocational classes. This last week here, we went to North High and spoke with a couple of their classes one day, went back and spoke with another couple the next day. And then we also went to Salina. What was that? Days are running together. That was Thursday, I think.
It was Thursday.
And
technical school.
met with the technical school up there and was able to walk around that facility and kind of take a look at it and see what all the shop was like and visit with some of those students as well. And, it's crazy to say you and I have been in this industry a long time for sure. And it's always encouraging for me to go and visit with a class like that. I really enjoy what I do. I really enjoy where I do it at. And that's something that we try to convey to the classes that we go into, because there's a lot of options. All right, when you get out there into the automotive industry, and it's what is discouraging for me is when somebody maybe is not as passionate about the industry or has been deflated by what I would deem a bad apple. Sure. Right?
Yeah.
Everybody out there either has a horror story or can tell a horror story that they heard from somebody else about something that that happened automotive wise that they didn't think was favorable, or they were treated fair, or something along those lines. And a lot of situations that I get involved in, and I know you as well, with customers that we obviously service a lot of vehicles, right? And there's a lot of traffic that comes in and out of this place on a day-to-day basis, and we don't get the opportunity to touch every customer or be involved in every customer's experience. And so we try to implement processes and procedures and stuff like that into our employees to try to instill a consistent experience for every customer.
For sure.
And I always tell people too, whether it's an employee or a customer that maybe we've misstepped or their experience wasn't the great, is I think our biggest downfall sometimes is just our size and all the different people that are here to help, but being able to like processes or things kind of have a tendency to fall through a crack just because of the number of people that are associated with one individual
For
job
sure.
at times.
And we try to do it right, and we try to do it right every time. But
Yeah,
it's just there's enough people, enough folks we run through here. It's just impossible. Sometimes things fall through the crack, but catching up on those things on the backside of it and making it right and getting it fixed is a big part of the deal too.
sure. And so one of the things I was going to throw out there for our listeners was, hey, call in if you've had a bad automotive experience, whether that was a repair or to kind of discuss that and maybe what happened. But where I was headed with that is, like I said, for us, I think the biggest fault is just our size sometimes gets in the way of being able to do business, and everybody's going to make a mistake, right? So um, but it's after you make the mistake or realize you've made the mistake, how you correct it and the actions that you take after that to get it fixed and do the right thing. And
And try to learn from it
yeah,
and
and
move
learn
on and
from it
make it not happen
and move
again.
on. And I meet with all of the service advisors here on a daily basis. I meet with all the technicians here on a daily basis. You do the same down at the quick lane and talk with all the advisors down there and all the
Oh
technicians
yeah,
down there. And in those instances, we share those experiences, right? And it's not it's kind of a do better slip, right? Like, okay, I don't mind.
absolutely.
Tell my kids all the time. I happen to have one sitting in here today. It's not if you make a mistake, right? It's if you learn from it,
Right.
right, and move on. And so we definitely try to do that as well. But going back to thinking over a lot of the instances that I've had where I've dealt with customers that were either at a different facility and maybe got kind of the runaround, or things didn't go the way they needed to go, or whether it was with our own facility. And a lot of times, honestly, it comes down to communication. Like it just wasn't maybe something wasn't explained detailed enough, or
Certainly.
on our side especially. And again, talk about this all the time to the service advisors and technicians and stuff like that. Like, if you're in industry, there's so many acronyms and brief explanations for something. Me and you could talk about cars all day long and say few words and really understand and know what somebody's talking about, right?
Hmm.
But then you get a customer that is, I don't want to say uneducated, but just not familiar with the terms, not in industry.
Sure.
And um, I had an instance thinking back this last week of a situation that a repair had been done several thousand miles previously, and it happened to be a defective part that was put on during a pretty extensive repair. It wasn't like the primary part that was put on to fix what the customer was after, but just in addition to,
Sure.
as part of that job. And so then the advisors, I get involved in this, and I'm saying, well, hey, that should have been taken care of because it was replaced during this repair. And the advisors looking at it from a perspective of, oh, well, I didn't even realize that was part of that repair. And I was like, well, you're in the industry and are around it every day. Imagine if you were the customer, right? Like, to make that connection and to be able to do that for the customer. And so uh yeah, like I said, just the majority of time, what I get involved with, a lot of times it's just about um a breakdown in communication or lack of communication thereof, and not understanding the full extent of what needs to be fixed and
Sure.
why. um you know and then there's situations too where, as a consumer, when you uh pay something for something. A check engine light is a great example of that. Uh, you have a check engine light. Maybe the vehicle's running fine. Maybe it's not running fine. And then you've paid this money. Like, when you go to Best Buy and uh, spend $1,000, like, you walk out with something, right?
Right.
You get a
Right.
TV, you get a computer, you get a, appliance of some sort, right? That and you
Your
it's
perception of the
yeah,
value is right there in your hands.
it's something that you get to touch, play
Yeah.
with, feel like, uh, do all sorts of things on. But when you're spending money on an automotive repair, in a lot of cases, these customers, they're driving their vehicles to us for whatever repair, and the difference is maybe a check engine light's not on now, right? And so the then now you take that, you've had that check engine light repaired. Maybe you drive a lot of miles, maybe you don't, and 7, 8, 9 months, a year down the road, the check engine light comes back on again. Well, in those situations, like, there's a million things that could turn a check engine light on, but as a
Hmm.
consumer, the only thing that you know of is my check engine light was on, right? And then now it's back on again, and again, maybe it's driving fine, maybe it's not driving fine, but the number of things that it could have took to make that light come on, it's a pretty lengthy list,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And so again, going back to taking the time to be able to explain to the customer, hey, this is what's going on, this is why this happened, or this is what we did then, this is what needs to be done now, and the relevance of that. um, but then again, going back to that bad apple, is if you're not in a quality place, or somebody that has the right reputation to do the right thing, like, there's a huge um potential of taking advantage of somebody, like
Sure.
truly taking advantage of somebody in that particular situation,
Sure.
and just explain it away. And so, um, that's I tell classes all the time when I start into this deal is, hey, ask questions, because if you're asking questions, then we get to talk about what you want to. But if you're not
Hmm.
asking questions, then
We can ramble on
yeah,
all day.
then we can ramble on all day. So in this same particular situation, hey,
Yeah.
call in, ask a question, or if you have an experience that you would like to talk about or discuss, or whatever, for sure.
Or
Let's
if you
do.
just want to hear us ramble, we can do that too.
We can certainly do that as well. So, but yes, trying to explain to them that uh, there's a lot of benefits of being in this industry. I truly believe that you can go anywhere in the world, and there's going to be broke cars.
Oh yeah.
There's going to be cars that people want new ones of. There's going to be cars that need reconditioning. There's going to be something's not right here, needs fixed there, or whatever. And so that side of it, I think, is awesome. And then the second side of it for me, what's kept me in this industry, or what I really enjoy the most, is just the change, or the evolution, and how you know how things operate, and trying to figure out that form of operation, right?
Are you talking as far as like advancement in technology is in the vehicles, or
Y-
like the business growth side
So
of things?
so both, yeah,
Yeah.
both for sure.
Yeah.
As a technician, it was I think maybe just the curiosity of it,
Sure.
right? So for me, as the as the technician side of me, was definitely the change and involvement in the vehicles, and how they work and operate. And uh, the other thing I always thought that was really interesting as a technician, and we talk about this too in different classes or with the students, but how different manufacturers do different things but achieve the same output.
Right.
So like my example of that would be, and this probably date myself a little bit, but just like dash actuators, common dash actuators, like Ford used vacuum actuators for many years. I mean, I
Hmm.
thought Chevrolet was really kind of ahead of the time back then,
When they switched
because
to the
yeah,
electronic
they're
actuators.
using electronic actuators, and you could actually sit and kind of PID monitor that
Hmm.
actuator and tell what it's supposed to do. And then there was over limit parameters, and then it would set fault codes and not even use that actuator. And so, as a technician, a lot easier to maybe diagnose and understand. But then from a reliability standpoint, like a vacuum one, it didn't care. It was
Right.
going to work, one
Right.
way or the other. And so, um, but just seeing how different manufacturers did different, setups or
Sure.
ways of doing things to achieve the same thing, I always thought was very intriguing. You know, and that's where, yeah, I've always been in a dealership. I've not had any independent experience at all. Um, uh, but also every dealership that I've been at, we've always done competitive makes and models. And so, I think there's definitely a huge difference between dealerships and independent repair facilities,
Oh, for sure.
for sure. And I think there's a need for everything, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a need and a time and a place for everything. Um, for me personally, and going going further forward, like I just think it's going to be harder and harder and harder. That's that quiet as a church mouse thing.
Yeah.
Harder and harder and harder to for an independent facility to be able to have the tools and equipment needed to work on these vehicles. I mean, the complexity level is, I think, is uh,
So
everly
not
growing.
just the complexity level, but now you have to take into account uh, software licensing
Yeah,
to be able to
yeah,
get into some of these vehicles now. You have to have the correct software. You have to purchase that software, and it's not cheap.
yeah,
And to get into some of these manufacturer vehicles, and I think as the years move forward, we're going to see more manufacturers moving toward that locked out software to where you have to have those keys. You have to have that manufacturer specific software to be able to really get in there and diagnose those vehicles. I mean, there's some things that go with OBD2 laws. You'll be able
yeah.
to get in there and see, the the
The
tip of the
basics, if
iceberg,
you will.
but you can't really dive into that without that software. So
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that as well. The so so many times or so many instances, as we're working on stuff now, it is back to the computer, right? Like you're not fixing a hard part or replacing. We hardly ever get into engines or transmissions at this point, and that's not
yeah,
specific to Ford. That's really just about every manufacturer. Is that they have a pretty durable powertrain out there. Um,
it depends on if we're working on regular customer stuff or if it's one of my family members bringing bringing something.
yeah, yeah, and but for the most part, everybody has a pretty durable powertrain out there, and so it's all the bells and whistles, the and thens
Yeah,
that you're working on, and a lot of that, I mean, like you said, it requires the software to be able to communicate with that vehicle and diagnose it. So, um, but hey, we've got a call, so let's go to the phones here. Let's go to the phones, and we're going to talk to Richard. Good morning, Richard. You're on live with Under the Hood.
morning.
Morning. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great.
Well, I'll give you one bad car experience that I've had. It was pretty much unavoidable for me or the car lot that sold it to me. About a few years ago, I bought a Nissan. It was a kind of an older Nissan. I was just buying the car to and from work. Just a car to for the work car to go to and from work and a little around town. I had just bought the car. It only cost $2,000. It was a pretty decent looking car, but just barely after 30 days, the computer in the car went out. And you can't do, if you can't find an exact computer match online. I found one. The car wouldn't start. I mean, it was totally, the computer box was just something, it just went out. I did find one online down in Texas, so I had it FedExed up to me. Tried to put the exact computer type of box in. Worked for a couple of weeks. That one went out. So basically, you can't. The repair places really can't do anything that has a box that goes out. So basically, you end up having to sell the car for scrap.
For salvage.
Great yeah, salvage.
Yeah.
The motor ran great. The car was okay. I mean, transmission was good. good body on it and all that stuff, but just because you could not get the replacement on the box, had it basically scrapped the car out. That's kind of the only real thing that's happened to me as far as cars goes.
Wow.
Yeah, you bring up a great point, and I think especially as this industry evolves to um, maybe less moving components, right? So we see a lot of times that I'll give you a good example of this, and I think it's pretty similar to your situation here. Is we have a pretty new Super Duty in back here, and the vehicle has an issue with the radio. So in this in this radio, there's a cable that runs from the basically the control unit or the head where you would change stations, whatever, to an amplifier in the back of the deal. Well, this cable or cord, it's a data network cable, is I'm going to say probably 6 foot long, right? But it's integrated into a wiring harness that is pretty much the front and back sections of the whole truck. And so we need a cord that's 6 foot long and that has, let's say, 15 to 20 wires in it on each end. That's a solid cord, maybe has a connector or two in it, and we're ended up having to replace the entire wiring harness in this truck because of that. And I can think of many other situations or examples like that, like a grill piece or an applique, and then you have to buy this big ginormous piece because of that. Now in those situations, those parts are available, unlike in your situation, but you have to buy so much more than what you need just to get so the manufacturers are trying to produce them at a quicker rate, from that, or more integrated to where it's one unit instead of 3 pieces, basically. So yeah, we run into that situations like that quite a bit around here for sure. So
well, what did that finally end up costing on?
Well,
did you have to put in a whole new wiring harness?
yeah, so in that particular situation, and a lot of experiences like that we get into, it's manufacturer warranty, right? So the warranty, the manufacturer ends up purchasing the whole, the whole harness and stuff like that. But even in those situations, as a consumer, I'm looking at it. So I'm looking at it from both the manufacturer side, the dealer side, and then the consumer side. Like, if we can avoid taking your vehicle apart as much as we can, like we want to be intrusive to your vehicle as least as possible. Now, these guys have a lot of experience and they know how to take a vehicle apart, and they know how to put it back together. And the fasteners and retainers and stuff like that are important, and that what they do in their jobs, and just make sure that it's right. But also, I just don't, the least amount that we can take your vehicle apart, that's where I want to be.
Let me ask a question. Now, granted, this Nissan that I had was sort of older. What's the what is the time limit? Like, say, a manufacturer has to be able to offer parts, like 10 years or something, so that you ought to be able to get a replacement.
A lot of times we see parts go obsolete right over that 10-year mark. That it's funny. I've been surprised both ways. I've had vehicles that were in here. My son's truck. Just the other day, I put a little molding on the driver door. It's called a belt molding. That black strip at the bottom of the window. It's on a Ford Ranger, a 2002, and I went to the parts department just knowing it's going to be obsolete. I'm going to have to go aftermarket for this part, and we had 3 of them in stock. Like, I thought that was wild. But a lot of times, about that 10-year mark, a little over 10 years, they're gonna start reining back support on a lot of those parts. That doesn't mean there aren't still a whole lot of those parts out there across the country, in the dealer network, that we can't get our hands on. But about that 10-year mark,
And we've, in your particular situation with that car and that module and stuff like that, I can't say that I've ever run across something where we couldn't find something or come up with a solution of some sort.
Right.
Now, there's the flip side of that is that sometimes the solution that you find, like the value of the vehicle, may not be worth what it's going to take in order to get it up and going again. But at least there's options, right?
Yeah.
At that point,
Yeah.
we can do this, or ultimately we can move on from the vehicle and do something else.
And
But
part of that's just about having knowledge in
the knowledge of the
and
industry,
experience being in here. I mean, there's like your situation with that module. Was it available anywhere? Could you find it anywhere? Maybe not. But there are places that actually will rebuild PCMs that
Mhm.
will go through them. That
I
rebuild
was
the circuit board,
yeah.
replace a transistor or whatever it needs, and ship it back to you. But like Josh was saying, sometimes is the juice worth the squeeze?
Yeah, very much so. So
Well, I will give one place in town some credit. They when the thing was when it was discovered this computer box was not working, he did actually mail this thing off to somebody to see if they could repair. And they gave him a no, it's not repairable. So I will give one guy in town here a kudo for try
to come up with a solution for you.
Yeah, he let me store the car on his back lot, and he mailed this thing off. And a couple of weeks later, he got notification that not repairable. So then after that, it was just a big deal. The computer box had a big sticker on it with the kind of serial number and so forth. Kind of order, I had to go online and try to find one which was an exact match, which I did.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, when I got it back and they put it in and all that, it only lasted about a week. And then I decided, heck with it.
Yeah.
So just scrap the car out, and that was it for that deal.
Yeah, which is, as a consumer, I'm sure is extremely frustrating, right? Because the thing runs decent. It's it got me from point A to point B. All the maybe the flaws, the character flaws of the vehicle, and it's a pretty decent vehicle. And then it's like, man, I'm scrapping it because of this simple thing or this simple issue. So yeah, I can understand that completely. So.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, have a good afternoon, you guys.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for the call very much, and enjoyed your comments. All right.
Have a good day.
Very good. Yeah,
that would be frustrating.
Well, 100%. And I mean, I know you get involved in situations like that too, of where similar situation, but maybe a little bit different in the fact that, like, okay, I want that part right there. And then you go and it's like, okay, well, to get that part, you got to get this part. And to get that part, you got to get this part. But then also, that there's a flip side to that too, in that we've dealt with in many situations. And that is that maybe you wanted this specific part, but you couldn't get that part. But then you look at a bigger picture and like, okay, well, that part also comes with this part. I run into that situation just the other day. We've got to put an engine in a vehicle, and it's held up over a one-time use part O-ring. And so we're waiting on this, like literally this big job, massive job, over a one-time use O-ring. And so I get involved in the situation and I go back there and I'm like, well, hey, does that part come with what it's sealing? And sure enough, it did. And so we were able to incorporate it with the next level component. And so it's just thinking outside of the box like that makes the difference. So, hey, let's go back to the phones again. Let's talk to Joe. Joe, you're on live with Under the Hood. Good morning.
Good morning. My son's got a F-350. It's either a 2000 or 2001 diesel.
Mm-hmm.
And it has started using a lot more DEF than it has been. What would cause that?
So you're talking a 7.3 liter Power Stroke turbo diesel.
I don't think a 7.3 is going to have DEF.
No, he said it's using a lot more fuel, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know that it's using. I don't think it's using a lot more fuel. It's just using more depth.
Yeah, so
Okay.
so it's got to be newer than a 2001 if it's got the diesel exhaust fluid in
It's
it.
gonna be a
Oh, I'm
2011.
sorry, a 20. I'm sorry, a 21.
21.
Okay.
It's either
Okay.
a 20. It's either a 20 or a 21.
Gotcha.
I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
So comparatively, like what's has he had the truck for quite a while, or this is new to him and he's comparing it to a previous diesel that he
No,
had?
he bought it new, and matter of fact, he tried to buy one from you guys. That was during the COVID,
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
and you guys didn't have one, and we
Yep.
ended up finding one somewhere else.
Gotcha.
But it's got 90,000 miles on it.
Yeah. So what I'm gonna say is probably is going on with that thing is it's probably going into a regenerative mode much more often than what it used to, and so that would be an indication of the soot level in the particulate filter is probably getting it's probably getting pretty full. And so as that thing wears and the soot level increases in that filter, it's going to go into a regenerative mode much more often, which would use the fluid a lot more. There is a couple of different things. One, um, if he's operating it in a manner that it's in a regenerative mode and he's not letting it run through that complete entire cycle, then it's going to have to reactivate that cycle again sooner than what it would be if he was running it through the entire cycle. The best way to do that is more highway miles for sure. Get that thing
Well,
on the.
we just drove it to Charlotte and back this week.
Did you? Okay. Well, that
Yeah.
definitely
It
will
put in like three times more fuel than what he has done in the past.
So a couple of other things I would wonder about. One would be like a leaky injector to it,
Yeah.
and then definitely the soot level in the exhaust. I would be very curious about that. I was trying to think of kind of some other things.
The leaking injector, the soot level in the exhaust, there's a few different things that we can do with a scan tool where we
Yeah.
can actually measure that soot level in the exhaust, your
Okay.
restriction in it's called a DPF filter, and that's the big filter in the exhaust that it filters out that soot. That's why your diesels nowadays don't have you're not rolling coal, you're not putting the black exhaust smoke out. It's filtering
Okay.
all that stuff out. So once that reaches a certain level of restriction, sometimes its normal regenerative mode isn't going to completely take that
Yeah.
restriction out of there. And sometimes that requires, coming into somewhere that can hook up to it and run a manual regen mode, and that allows that exhaust to really get a lot hotter than it normally would going down the road, gives that thing a chance to incinerate all that soot out of that filter,
And complete the whole cycle
and
and not be
complete the
interrupted.
entire cycle without interruption. Now, I have seen just a couple where it was already sooted up so bad
Too late.
you weren't going to be able to clean it all the way out, and that did take a replacement of that particulate filter. But a lot of times that issue can be addressed on a manual regen where it's not interrupted and it can go through the entire cycle.
Yeah. So Joe, we're going to throw a diagnostic onto your package as well, and we'll take a look at that thing at no charge to you, and see what's going on with it. But if you're using that much more, like there's an issue, right? And then my next thing with that is, especially if it's a matter of soot level, like it's a compounding problem. So the longer it goes like that, the more DEF that you're dumping into it that you shouldn't be, or whatever. Like there's a lot of additional problems that can happen if it goes unattended.
You're losing power. You're creating more of a restriction on that engine.
Going into regenerative mode, you're burning a lot more fuel
Yes.
too. So, but yeah, we'll get a diagnostic onto your package and we'll take a look at that thing and see if we can help you get it figured out. Okay.
Appreciate it.
Perfect. Hey, thank you for the call, and thanks for listening. Okay.
You bet. Thank you.
Have a great day. Yeah, that's another great situation on diesels, and that talk about changing the industry.
Oh yeah.
When somebody told me I had to put DEF in a diesel, I'm like, huh? Do what?
I remember the first year that came out and seeing people's faces when you said exhaust fluid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the blinker fluid
They
or
think
muffler
you're talking about
bearings or
muffler
whatever.
bearings. Yeah.
Or what's the Back to the Future
Flux capacitor.
flux capacitor
Yeah.
is kind of another deal like that. But yeah, they look at you like you got three eyeballs.
People immediately thought you were jacking.
And to be perfectly honest, the first several times I said it, I felt like I had three eyeballs. So yeah, understand that completely. But hey, let's go back to the phones and let's talk to Greg. Greg, you're on live with Under the Hood. Sorry about the hold. Thanks for hanging with us.
No worries at all. It's a Saturday morning. Everybody wants to call and talk to you guys.
It is. Yeah.
So I called. I obviously have a ton of things we can talk about, but you asked about bad experiences with service.
Uh-huh.
And I don't want to say the dealership name, but I have a Toyota, and it had a parking sensor that went bad on it. I thought, usually I bring all my stuff to you guys, Chevy, my Ford trucks, literally everything. But I thought, it's a pretty specialized part. And, you guys mentioned, having the software to do stuff. And I thought, it was with that parking sensor. And I knew that from the information the car was giving even to me. And I was like, I'll just take it to this dealership. And sure enough, they took off the bumper and said it was that parking sensor. And then I asked the guy on the phone, the service writer, how much am I going to owe? And he said, well, it's about $800 to replace a parking sensor. And I thought, wow, that seems like a lot. So I went ahead and looked up before I went to go pick it up how much that parking sensor was. And the stock price from the Toyota dealership is like $210. That's their retail. But then when I went to go pick it up, they were going to charge me $440 for it. And I thought, I just asked the guy, I said, well, why am I paying more than double the retail? I mean, I get markup, but anyhow, oh, that's the mistake. Oh, that just auto-populated in there was the story I got. And he then corrected it back down to the retail price that I found online. But it's kind of frustrating. It makes you feel like maybe I can't trust people. And I've never felt that way with you guys.
Well,
Sure.
And that's huge in this industry is that, once it's about building rapport and trust, that's what makes the difference. And that's why, again, we're not without fault by any means and trying to do better and learn from an experience such as that, for sure. But like that was a huge part of like our multi-point inspection videos and things like that, just trying to bridge that gap of that when you walk out of a facility or a repair facility that you have an invoice in your hand and what really happened, and that's where, trying to be transparent is huge in this industry. And help a consumer understand, what's going on and why.
And with those folks, of course, I'd like to think that they weren't trying to pull anything.
Sure. Yeah.
I believe in giving everybody the benefit of a doubt. What I will tell you though is, I'm glad you've had good experiences with us, and we really do try to be transparent. We try to help people. That's why we're here at the end of the day. But I will tell you, there have been instances, and I believe probably with you as well, when we've looked at a repair order, when a concern's been brought up, and we have to say, you know what, you're right. That's not right.
Yeah, for us on the back end and stuff like that, like consumer doesn't understand what goes into
Sure.
The setup of the computer system, and that
At the end of the day, it's operated by people.
It's operated by people, for sure. And at the end of the day, there should be a check and balance for that process. But for something to fall through the cracks, is it a plausible thing? 100% it's a plausible thing.
Has it happened? Is it a common thing? Absolutely not.
Shouldn't
but,
be. Yeah, should be the exception and not the
Right,
rule for
right,
sure.
sure.
So, very good.
Right.
Very good. Well,
So the other because I do like that stuff, but you know, I if you ask my wife, I'm always car shopping. That's probably true.
you know, yeah. You're always
Even though we have-
looking for the next one,
I
right?
think if you're a car guy, you're kind of
Well,
always car shopping.
Yeah, the question is if I can improve my garage in any way, you know, I don't know. Anyhow, I was looking at your guys' stuff, and this whole sleeper F-150, which I know other dealerships have done for a while, but I think you need to talk about that some more, because I mean, have you driven one? How does it compare to because you know, I've got the Corvette, which is nice, but my wife kind of complains about it being I don't know, low to the ground, harder to get into. And
yeah, so I will tell you to be able to get in and out of these trucks obviously is much easier than a Corvette. So here's the thing. I love driving a Mustang. I love driving a Corvette. I love driving those sports cars occasionally.
Yes.
But if I'm going to consistently drive something day in and day out for like feature, comfort, room, stuff like that,
still want to have
fun.
fun.
And still want to have fun. It's going to be a truck. And there's no comparison to the ride, the room, any of that stuff. And these trucks with you put a supercharger on it and you get 800 horsepower out of a 4-wheel drive pickup,
10-speed transmission.
yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And we talk about that a lot all the time, is the fact that years ago, to have 800 horsepower in something, like, you probably were going to maybe drive it to the track and down the track and back home.
It was a
But
drag car.
you were not hopping in that thing and heading to Dallas or Las Vegas or something like that. But to be these vehicles now, it's crazy the amount of horsepower and performance they can get out of them, and air conditioning, and cruise to be so reliable that you drive it anywhere you want to go. And so
with all your creature comforts.
Yeah, with all the creature
touch
comforts.
screen, air conditioning, cruise control.
But what I will say is these trucks are a lot of fun. They are a lot of fun, and from a performance standpoint, that Corvette is probably going to hook up a lot better.
What model of Corvette do you have?
I have a C6. It's a convertible, but I don't drive it crazy. It's an automatic.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's fun. There's 50,000 miles.
Yeah, and then
it's a toy.
Go ahead. It's what? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's a toy, but
yeah,
a F-150 is about the same thing. I mean, I guess you could fit 3-inch, but it wouldn't be a daily driver type.
Sure. And here's what I'll tell you too about performance and horsepower and stuff like that. I mean, years ago, everybody wanted a manual transmission, or that was the faster version of it, right? And man, in this day and age, with the advancements in the transmissions and how reliable and durable and stuff they are, like, you're not going to outperform an automatic.
Yeah.
With a manual, you just can't. The automatic's going to be faster.
It's just like the GT500. They don't even offer a manual version of it,
which is absolutely crazy as well. So, but yeah, these trucks are a lot of fun. The appearance of them. I love the looks of the regular cab pickup. For sure, I've always been a regular cab pickup fan as well. So,
do we know what they're putting down in the quarter mile?
I don't. Yeah, at some point, the thing is, we keep producing these things, and then they just they're gone. And so, but at some point, we're gonna have to track one, I'm sure. Man, we're building one for PRI, and that thing. I'm gonna have to get some pictures of it, and I'll put it up on the podcast when we get complete with it. But we are going all out on that truck, and so it's gonna be a really good looking truck. So
let me know when it's done, and I'll do some testing too. Yeah. I'd be willing to do that.
But I'll get some pictures of that thing up here and put them up on the podcast when we get it wrapped up. So okay.
Well, that's what I saw, that black and bronze one, and that, I don't know, kind of giving off Trans Am vibes a little bit.
That's I said that exact sentiment. I was like, it needs a Firebird on the hood, but that was I agree with you. And I tell you what, that black and gold one, we when we were in production of it, they had ordered those gold wheels, not even knowing what it was going to go on to. And I'm going to be perfectly honest. I said, what in the hell are we putting those things on? And I think Phil had the exact same sentiments of it, but when it got on the truck, man, it looked good. And to be perfectly honest with you, so we're in the process of doing it to a crew cab now. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like, and I think it's going to get gold wheels as well. So,
well, that's honestly, I have that Power Boost King Ranch.
That's
a 2-wheel drive, and that's, I don't know. You're right. The 10 speed, it goes through the gears pretty quick, but
sure.
I don't know. It's just a toy, but the Corvette's nice. But my wife, she talks a little bit about how the ride's a little harsh and it's low to the ground, and I'm like, there's an easy solution. We'll just go to Hambelton.
Bingo.
We'll find something different. So yeah.
Right. All we got to do is drive one of those trucks, and you'll probably be in love.
There you go. Well, we'll let you know when we get one of these crew cabs done, and you can see what you think about it. So.
Right. Maybe I need to trade the King Ranch and
the
Corvette.
Yeah. Well, that could be an option too, for sure. So.
Anyway, thank you. I appreciate it.
No, thanks for the call, and thanks for listening. All right.
Yep. Bye.
Perfect. Well, hey, I think we're going to go through, kind of do a recap. We talked a lot about just in industry and bad experiences and stuff like that, and what we try to be different, try to do things different, and I think communication is a huge key part of that, for sure. But wanted to thank all you loyal listeners for tuning in to us every Saturday and listening to the show. Had a great episode today. Enjoyed the calls and conversation and everything like that. So, Kelly, I appreciate you coming in and hanging out with me for the hour. It's always a fun time. You get on here and you got a list of things that you want to talk about, and you take a call or two, and whoop, in the ditch you are, and which is fine. It's always interesting what conversations you're going to get involved in or into, for sure. But again, thank all you loyal listeners for tuning in with us, and everybody have a wonderful Saturday, and we will talk to you next week.